Are you keen to know what all the hype is around trail running but don't know where to start?
Yeah, well, James and I both love adventuring on the trails and we want you to share that experience too. So we're going to be sharing some tips to help you get started out on the trails.
Trail running sounds cool, but it can be a little intimidating, especially if you don't identify as a trail runner. But what actually makes one a trail runner?
Well, basically, it's anyone who does any sort of running off-road. So if you run away from the roads, the paved surfaces or a track, then that makes you a trail runner. And you might be watching this going, oh, okay, well, that includes me. But we don't need labels anyway. Running is very much about the freedom, and being able to include trails in your routes allows you that much more freedom.
Well, if you still need some convincing, indulge us as we give you some of the reasons we enjoy trail running.
It gets you out in the fresh air and away from the traffic on the roads.
You work more on your core and the small stabilizing muscles in your legs.
You get mental stimulation when discovering new routes.
It reduces the impact of running thanks to the softer surfaces.
It can build strength with the potential of more hills and tougher terrain.
You get to appreciate your local surroundings and get out in nature.
It can even be more sociable when you're not constrained to running single file on a pavement.
Trail running opens up your run route options.
Oh, I reckon we should probably stop there. And I think we have by now convinced you to give trail running a try. And I expect you're wondering, well, how do you go about planning a route? What kit do you need, for example?
Well, before you give you those tips, just a reminder, you can support the channel by hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing so you don't miss any of our other videos. The beauty of trail running is in its simplicity. It is, after all, just running. We don't have to encourage you to go out and buy a whole bunch of kit in order to start trail running.
Well, yeah, therefore, the only real part of kit that you need to consider is your footwear choice. And before you go shopping, it's a good idea to consider actually what sort of trails you're going to be running on. What is that surface? And I have to admit, in the UK in the summer when it's dry, I'm quite happy running in my road shoes on trails. So much so I've even done a couple of trail ultras in a pair of road shoes.
Yeah, you can. But if you're running somewhere where it's wet, it's muddy, it's slippery, it's scree, it's rocky, you probably do want to invest in a decent pair of trail shoes. And they will just make trail running that much more enjoyable. Of course, if you're running on the road to get to your trails, bear that in mind that some trail shoes can be quite uncomfortable on the road, a bit unforgiving. So you do get hybrid shoes that have a bit of traction, but are also good for the road.
Now, when we think of trail runners, we often envisage people running with their packs, their fuel, phone, maybe even poles. But realistically, if you're new to trail running, you don't need all of that stuff because you want to keep it short. You want to make sure that you stay on routes that are fairly close to civilization, that you're going to be relatively familiar with. And later on, when you do get more used to running on those trails and you want to venture further afield, then that's when you need to invest in a bit more kit.
So you're motivated and ready to go, but how do you know where to go? Well, if you lived here around us in Bath, we'd happily take you on local trails and show you the way around. But realistically, most of our viewers don't live near Bath.
Yeah, sadly not. So we are here to help. We have got some tips to help you plan a route. Well, you can speak to your local run groups or clubs and they're likely to have great knowledge of where to go, and they might even suggest you join them for a trail run.
Or you can use heat maps on Strava to show where the most common run routes are.
You can study your local OS map, one of my favourite pastimes, finding new paths, etc.
You can also plan a route on an app such as Komoot, and it should let you know the difficulty of the trails around you.
Or you could look for local trail races that might have shared their routes online.
Or just go out and adventure. But remember to keep some bearings and have some sort of navigation with you, even if it's just your phone.
Well, that leads me on to safety, and I know it can be a barrier for some people heading out onto the trails, and sometimes even more so for women. So make sure that you plan your route wisely. Try to go to places that you know is really popular with runners. Maybe buddy up if you can, that is the best option, but I know it's not always possible. And obviously don't go anywhere running that you wouldn't like to go if you were walking. And then when you've planned your route, let people know where you're going and roughly how long you'll be. So you just got that bit of security. And if you are running at night, the trails can be really fun, but make sure you've got a really good head torch because it's just that much harder to see the lumps and the bumps. But basically stay within your remit, take your phone with you if that gives you a little bit of extra security as well.
Getting on the trails is about losing yourself and having some fun. You probably still want to record your run on your watch, but we'd suggest you don't worry too much about pace. Hills and uneven terrain and just navigating your way around trails is going to slow down your average pace quite a lot. So forget about it. You still get the physical and mental benefits, even if your average pace is a lot slower than it might have been on the road. In fact, in trail running, it's a lot more acceptable to just walk up the hills.
Oh my God, totally. That is one aspect that I certainly embrace about off-road running. You also want to make it fun. So if you can, join a group, but if you don't find a group, why not make your own? Get friends to come along with you and you can make it into a bit of an adventure. And when you do start to go off-road, build it up slowly with the mileage because your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles are not going to be used to this uneven terrain and it will actually be quite fatiguing and you'll just need to make sure that you allow your body time to adapt.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and hope you enjoy trail running. On that note, Heather and I are going to go run.
Yeah, see ya.